Hi everyone, it's Bubbly4041 and welcome to part 2 of my Breyerfest 2019 haul video. If you haven't already and if you are interested, please go check out part 1 of my haul video. In that video, I go over my stalemate sized models and some of the other goodies that I brought home as well. In this video, I'm going to go over my traditional size models, most of which are comprising of special runs and a couple others thrown in there as well. I'm going to start off here with my Breyerfest 2019 celebration model. This is Oliver. He is a model of one of the mounted police horses at the Kentucky Horse Park. I thought it was really nice that they honored a hometown hero, if you will, this year at Breyerfest as a celebration horse. It's a really nice mold, and he is a nice minimally marked black Tobiano. Mine does have some issues where his markings are not the most crisp. This was the better option of the two models that I received at random. He does have some issues, mostly in his mane, where his markings are not all that crisp. They could be a bit nicer. Other places his markings are okay. His biggest issue was that he had, and he has, some shiny marks on this side. This is the side that was against the box, and he just has, if you can see, there's those 3 lines on his barrel. His was not as bad as the other model, which is why I decided to keep him. Don't have plans on live showing him or anything. He's just going to stay in my collection as kind of symbolism of going to Breyerfest this year. And his face is quite nice. A little bit less crisp towards the top. So that is him. Going on, this next model that I got, this is my signing model from the 2019 social media meetup. Really glad that I was able to go this year. I did not go to the original YouTube meet back in Breyerfest 2012. I was a little bit too new to the scene, a little bit shy, so I was glad that I was able to go to the social media meet this year. I did miss the original type YouTube meet that they had. I think I had a special run time or something else conflicting with that time, but I got some nice signatures, Performance Fanatic, Stormy Strike, very starry photos, Breyer Trot up on the hip there, Breyer Cigar Conga, and Da Vinci Creations signed it on the bottom. Really nice to meet all kinds of people that I've seen on Instagram and YouTube and things, and able to meet them in person, and I had a really good time. And now this model looks a lot nicer than he did when I left. The halter is not from Breyerfest. This is just a halter that I put on him, but it was quite nice to get this guy marked that he kind of means a little bit more than he did before with nothing on him. So that was a nice part of the weekend that happened on Saturday. So starting over here, we're going to go over my special runs. So starting with Natasha, I have decided I am going to list her for sale. She was one of the models that I did want prior to going into the weekend, but once I actually saw her in person, I didn't love her as much as I thought I would. And I didn't mind her, Thursday night on the Artisans Gallery when they have the examples and stuff, but she hasn't seemed to grow on me. And she does have some flaws. If she had been the variation, that would have been really cool. The Fox and Liver Chestnut Pinto. I would have liked that variation a lot more than the color that she, originally came in. Her markings are not bad. Her markings are quite crisp. She just has a couple flaws. She has a tiny scratch on this side. You can kind of see it a little bit there. Scratch right there. A couple black marks, a couple other goobers throughout her finish, that mark right there on her neck, and things of that nature. So I have decided I'm going to list her. She'll be on Model Horse Sales pages in a little bit. The next model was Rocket. I really like this guy. He is one of my favorites from the weekend. Mine is actually quite nice. He has a little bit of a shiny mark on his hip, but you can't really tell. There's some remnants of it kind of right there, but you can't really tell too much. I only can tell because I know it was there, and it looks a lot better than it did. I was able to kind of get it to look a little bit less obvious, a little bit less glaring. His dapples are quite nice. His color is not so washed out as I've seen others looking. His back is still quite white, but not as bad as some others that I've seen. I really like this mold. I like his mane especially. I just think that's cute. And his markings are quite nice and crisp. He does have some black spots in his white socks here, and I would like to try to fix those up soon, before he goes to a show or anything. But other than that, he's really quite a nice model. I like the detail to his face that he has, and he's just cute. He's a cute guy. Kind of a different mold than we've seen from Breyer before, so I like him quite a lot. And then we have this girl. This is my Diana. She is the one that I originally pulled. I really like the braided version. I'm glad that I pulled that version. I have one other horse on this mold, but it is not the braided mane and tail version, so that's pretty cool. She's a nice glossy, kind of minimally dappled bay. You can see them on the lower half of the barrel there, but it's not, you know, crazy all over the place. She does have a couple flaws in her, kind of in her finish, but overall she's not too bad. Her markings are quite crisp, and her face markings are as well. The end of her snip gets a little bit fuzzy towards the end. She has the nice detailed eyes, and most of these guys do. I'll have to look at Emerson again one more time to see. I can't remember if his are just black with the detailed eye whites or not. And so she's quite nice. I like her, you know, her customization. I like that she's glossy. I love glossy models. She'd have a bit of a mark on her back, but I was able to fix that and get that to be kind of less obvious. But I like her customization. I like her better than the loose mane, and I wasn't a huge fan of the variation of her that was the kind of crazy splash pinto. I like that they did the limited of 30 variations and all the special runs. I think that was a really fun idea. I wasn't the biggest fan of most of them, just I thought they were a bit too pearly, a little bit too unrealistic for me. I did like the Hero's Welcome Surprise variation of the Appaloosa. I thought he was pretty cool, but let me look to see. I think his eyes are just black, is what they look like to me. Yeah, from what I can tell. But he does have the detailed eye whites, which is pretty nice. And I think Natasha's are just black with the eye whites as well. Yeah. So I like that she has the nice brown with the black pupil and the eye whites. That's a nice touch to her. So moving on, we have my Hero Welcome Surprise models. So starting off, we have this guy. He's the matte dapple gray, solid dapple gray. He's the most common of the three. I did not originally pull him. Originally, I pulled two chestnut pintos, and I ended up trading the second chestnut pinto that I pulled for him just because I didn't want two of the pintos. He hasn't really grown on me a whole lot. I think I will be selling him along with the chestnut pinto. They just weren't my favorite. This guy is quite nice. His dapples are pretty nice and even on both sides, although they do end kind of abruptly on his back there, which is kind of funky. And he does have a spot on his leg here. That little spot kind of where that vein is, a little bit below his stifle. That could be, you know, is a flaw. But other than that, he's pretty good. He doesn't have too many flaws to him. And I think I will be selling him, but he was 1,000 pieces. He was the most common of the runs, but nobody knew that at the time, of course. And then I got two of the chestnut pintos. Of course, both of mine were flawed. They both had very similar flaws. This guy, he doesn't have very crisp markings around his, you can see the top of his shoulder there, and his neck markings kind of on each side, but that side is a little worse. And his face and things. I do like his detailed blue eyes. I think they're quite nice on each side. And his little face spot right there. And besides the kind of less crisp markings, he is pretty good. He has a couple black marks here and there throughout his coat. He has a little tiny pinprick one right there. And he does have a discolored spot on his barrel right there on his show side. And they both had that, both the ones that I pulled. So I do think I will be listing him for sale on one of our sales pages again. Just because he hasn't really grown on me, and his color is a little bit too shimmery, a little bit too unrealistic for me. But I do like the color. I think it's a nice color for people that kind of like chestnut pintos and the blue eyes. It is nice. And the final variation that I got was this guy. He is the matte champagne. I really like him. I think this is my favorite color. Going to the weekend, I really like the rose gray, but he grew on me, and I think he's actually my favorite color of all the colors offered. I do not like the decorator. I'm not a big decorator person. Again, all of these guys have the nice detailed eyes. His are the brown, and you can't tell really well in this lighting. But he does have the detailed eyes. His dapples are nice. They aren't too obvious, and they kind of fade. You know, fade as they go up his back and things. So he's kind of minimally dappled. He's kind of an in-between. He's not a really dark or really light version of the champagne. which is kind of nice. Just a solid champagne. His biggest flaws, he has a little black mark on his flank. Right in there. You can kind of see it. And then he has this weird area of shading on his back. Like right there, it goes like halfway on his left side for some reason. So I'm not sure what that's about, but I like him for now. I like his color. He's going to stick with me. I would maybe like to get a glossy champagne one of these guys at some point to kind of replace him. But overall, I like him quite a bit. So he's the one that I am going to keep out of the 3 that I pulled. And that's all that I got this year in terms of special runs. I did not take home any rare horses with me this year at Breyerfest. I didn't get pulled for any of the raffles. I did get some nice placings at the open show, which I will go over in my next video, but I didn't win any of the glossy horses, or victory or triumph, and I didn't pull any glossy Heroes Welcome Surprise horses or any of the variations for the special runs. So it was a pretty boring Breyerfest in those regards, but in other ways I did have quite, I did have a good time. The last model that I got, it's not a special run, it's the only model that I purchased at the Clarion this year. I only went to the Clarion one time this year. I was really split a lot of different ways with my time this year at Breyerfest. I wish that I had spent more time in the horse park and at the Clarion, and that's something that I would do differently if I was to go another time. I had to do the open show because I had to do the open show at least once, and it was a good time. I had a really good time. There were some really nice horses there. I got some nice placings, but I think if I was to go again in the future, I would reserve that day for more time, like at the Clarion, at the horse park. I probably would not do the Celebration of Horses show again. I enjoyed going to the show Saturday night, but that was just another day that took away from going to the Clarion and kind of looking at the deals and bringing home some really cool horses there. I didn't go after that show because we had to go home and pack up all of my horses from the open show and all of these guys that I got during the day on Saturday. And then Sunday, just spending more time at the park, I did that, which was quite nice before we had to go home, but I didn't have enough time to run to the Clarion before we headed back. So this is the only horse that I got at the Clarion this year. I did not get any stones or anything. He is a Breyer, and this is him. I ended up actually getting Acadia. He was on my want list, so I did get one horse on my want list this year, which was nice. He's quite sentimental because I live in Maine, so Acadia National Park is in Maine, so I figured if there was one Breyer that I kind of needed to have in my collection, he was it. He's a really nice, lightly dappled chestnut Sabino on the Vallegro mold. He has a really nice blaze. You can see his blaze there. His markings are really quite crisp. There you go. And he has one blue eye, and then his other eye is brown, which I will show you. And there's kind of his dapples. And he has a couple little Sabino marks there. His biggest flaws is he has a spot right there on his back that maybe, it looks like to me, maybe there was a flaw and somebody tried to cover up with some paint. It's not a big deal. It's a pretty small spot. He has a couple other areas on his back where maybe there's some shiny marks here or two. A couple other things like that. This is his other side. His markings are quite crisp. There's his belly spots again. It does say Acadia 2017 with a pine tree on his stomach, which I think is really cute. There's a couple hoof stripes. Some more of his leg markings for you. And then this is his other side. If I will get it to focus. There you go. So there's his other eye. It's actually brown. He has a little tiny spot next to it, and maybe other of you guys that own Acadias, if you can tell me if that's normal or not for them to have that little tiny spot near his eye. I think it's cute, whether it's supposed to be there or not. And then just more of his, his face marking goes down to the bottom of his muzzle. And he's just a really nice guy. I had Vallegro on the mold. I think I am going to sell my regular run Vallegro now that I have him. I really like him the best on the mold. And it's just really nice for me to have this model in my collection. He's a limited edition of 350. He was part of the America the Beautiful's web special series. Wow, America the Beautiful web special series. Limited to 350 pieces. So I was not part of the Collectors Club in 2017. I was a Collectors Club member 2018 and this year, but not in 2017. So if I had been, I would have tried to get drawn for him for sure. But yeah, he's quite nice. He's a nice guy. So that is all of the models that I brought home this year for traditional wise for Breyerfest. If you haven't seen part 1, please go watch part 1. I will have my open show placings video out soon in the next couple weeks, hopefully, when I can find some time to film that. And a couple other videos coming up as well. So look out for those, and I hope you guys are having a great start to your fall, a great start to your school year, wherever life finds you. I hope that it's going well, and I hope that your collections are kind of going in the direction that you want them to be, and that whatever your endeavors are, you're doing well. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good night. Bye.